Everyone in life, we are all looking for the same thing in different expressions. What the gambling companies are doing is that they are selling victory. In return, they are getting actual cash from you. A lot of people would do everything else but let go of the shame of telling somebody I'm struggling with this. Tips you ignore the most out of fear and inability to handle are the most effective tips for you. This is how it works generally. You have to a 25-day scheme, a 30-day scheme. You fall, you feel condemned, you feel shame. So then the addiction now comes back and say, you know what? Just continue. So your addiction is pushing you to a dark place, but it's still inviting you to come and draw more closure in it.
So what do you do when you fall? What do you do instead?
Thank you. That is the most important thing. If you have I would say I help them achieve fulfillment and satisfaction. Everyone in life, I always say this, that everyone in life, I like to present most of my episodes in this way. We are all looking for the same thing in different expressions. And this is what I mean. Every human being has a basic need to survive, right? In fact, how we know that there's something wrong with you as a person is if you are suicidal. Because the basic need of every human being is to
stay alive.
To stay alive, exactly, for as long as possible, right? The next part is we need a community that makes us feel like we are worth it, we are worth something. So we need love, because love in a way defines our sense of identity. The only reason why men are trying to chase money is because they are women to impress. After man's need for survival, there's man's need for a sense of self-worth, right? And we get our sense of self-worth and belonging from the people that matter to us most, right? And then on the last level is the level for fulfillment. So you ask yourself that, okay, a man, is surviving, living well, healthy, is making all the money in the world, has people who love him, all of those things. But every day the man is just waking up, doing the same thing, getting money. After a while, the man begins to ask himself, why am I really on earth, right? I mean, there's now the part of, I feel empty, so I need satisfaction, right? And so I always say this, that when people are not able to find satisfaction in one of these three areas, then that's where I come in. There's someone that reached out to me a couple of months ago, started speaking about how he needs help. And why do you need help? He's like, okay, my girlfriend wants to break up with me. I said, okay, walk me through. So it turns out that they've been dating for 7 years, and she has cheated with him like 3 times. And I'm like, bro, why haven't you walked away since? And then he's like, I love her. And then he's saying that I proposed to her, and she's saying that she doesn't think that she wants to marry me, and all of those things. I said, bro, the problem is that you've lost your respect. Like, somebody cheated on you 3 times, you still stayed, and all of those things.
And you're still begging to marry.
And you're still begging. And I'm saying that, see, if I'm going to have a conversation with you, the conversation is not on you trying to get the girl back. The conversation is on you trying to claim your worth and your value. So on that level, the guy lost his worth and his value. And if you check it, that guy, most likely, right? I'm not saying definitely, most likely grew up from starvation of love when he was growing up, right? From his father, from his mother. And so he will most likely be trying to find that validation, right? And so to the girl, she's seen a man who doesn't have any sense of self-worth. But to the guy, it's about, I need to prove to myself. He might not know that this is what's happening in his subconsciously, but he will be saying to himself that I need to prove to myself that at least one person can accept me and can love me unconditionally regardless. So that's most likely what's happening on the guy's own mind. And you now have the part of satisfaction. Satisfaction is just the fact that every human being, just wants to have a sense of accomplishment in life.
I've heard somebody say it in a podcast before. It's called self-actualization. Just achieving full satisfaction in yourself and everything you feel like you want to be, and completely, I believe that's what should be the general aim of life at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's not really money. You said it is by, you're looking for the same thing with different means. So for example, I'm chasing money with all my might. And it's not because I want to be able to afford this car. It's because I feel like that's what's going to complete me. And at the end of the day, it's probably not what completes anybody.
Exactly. In fact, it's psychologically proven. It's proven by experts that at the study was done in America, and it says that when you're earning like 1,000, feel happy, 2,000, feel happy. That after a while, I can't remember the exact figure. I think it was about 20 either 30 to 40K per month. That's $40,000 per month. Then after a while, you don't really, the fact that your salary has increased doesn't really have that much of an effect on you. So for instance now, I used to be very broke, right? 2018, I was a copper earning 19,800 naira. So I stayed like 1 year, didn't have a job, got promoted. Got a job. I was my first salary was 400,000 naira. I always tell people that when my first salary came in, like I jumped up, I looked at the lady beside me. She had been working there for a couple of months. I said, are you not happy? They just paid us salary. She said, And second month, I was happy. After the like fourth, fifth month, it became normal.
Yeah.
They increased my pay. I was happy again. Increased my pay. I was happy again. After a while, I moved, changed company. My salary was almost double. I was happy. And then after a while, I realized that the need to want to change jobs solely based off how much I earn was not the major factor again. It was now what gives me peace. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's true that after a while, how much you earn doesn't really have an effect on you, especially when you can afford most of what you want, and as a man provide for those
that you love. You know, did you know that it is actually incentivized to switch companies? Like, by fact, people who switch companies often in their career generally earn 50% more than those who stay loyal to one company.
Yes, yeah. I'll give you an example. So I had a boss, you know, he was working in the company like 5-6 years before I joined, 6 years before I joined. As at the time I was leaving after 3.5 years, I think my salary was either what he was earning or more than what he was earning. And so I would notice sometimes on his face that he was like, this guy that I mentored, that I trained, is really going to go and earn more than me. And he had been working in that company for close to 10 years. But the reward was minimal. So yes, I agree with you. Back then, loyalty paid. But right now, in the organization,
even then, probably didn't even pay them, but people weren't open to the reality of what do they call it? Is it capitalism or what? But you know, these days it is clear. Everybody knows that business is business. Even footballers at a club know that business is business. If they put 100 million on my head and somebody wants to pay, I'm going to go, even if the fans love me. The one thing about wellness I want to talk about here is something I feel like has affected a lot of Nigerian youth, myself included, in the past. Gambling. There's an episode where I talked about it, about my own issue, you know, like a year ago or two. But then it's still prevalent. What do you think has led the male demographic in this country to, so, you know, everybody has a Sportybet account now, you get? Well, what do you think has caused that?
Everyone is going to have their own reason for an addiction. But a lot of times, addiction comes from a place of lack of self-sufficiency. So that means that for Nigeria, it's going to be different from, say, some country that they don't have to deal with poverty. But
what do you think about the Nigerian situation?
The Nigerian situation is hope. Human beings need to stay alive. Human beings need to feel like there is a promise for a better tomorrow. Which is why religion is also one of the...
Oh God, I have my own...
Yes. Now, for context, I do believe that they are genuine Christians, are genuine pastors, right? But we cannot deny the fact that, you know, we have
crooks all over the place.
Exactly. And so, when you sell hope to a poor man, that man is going to do whatever it takes to actualize that hope. So what the gambling companies are doing is that they are selling hope to you. And in return, they are getting actual cash from you. You understand? Now, gambling works in 2 ways, right? 2 ways I can think of right now. The first way is they need to hook you with something, right? They need to send you a dream and actualize it, you know, a dream that can be actualized and you know, get actual money from you. And so, which is why on their adverts, you know, when you log into maybe one of these betting platforms, you see one guy holding banner that he just won 50 million or something like that. Right? Or you have all of their Twitter influencers, which some of them are paid, by the way, you know, who would
post
come,
winnings.
Yes, post winnings and all of those things, right? And everyone's like, this guy just dropped now, make I try tomorrow, right? So they are going to use 10 million to pay somebody, but collect like 20 million the next day from other people who will be putting like 1,000, 5,000, all of those things. And so they're selling hope to you on one level. And on the other level, they are hooking you. So it's like I'm saying I need to get many people into my house as much as possible. How do I make my door wide enough and attractive enough to get them to come in? Then the second thing is, how do I retain these people? Now, retention comes in two ways. Retention comes from their own manipulated strategies and just psychology. Now, psychology is just you. So I started gambling because maybe I needed money. But when I started gambling, there's this thing, there's this thrill, that comes in me. I've never experienced it before, and I love it. So, and whenever I'm gambling, I'm bond, it's like I'm bonding with my friends, right? It's like we could never have bonded better in any other way, right? When we win, we are happy. When we lose, we are lamenting together. Misery loves comfort, right? And so, in that other scenario, on a psychological basis, they are feeding your brain, some level of dopamine that your brain has never experienced before. And so you stay hooked in it, right? But of course, they have their own, strategies that they also use to keep you hooked.
Yo, definitely. Like the apps are used. There's a documentary I saw about Amazon. Clearly, they have massive funds for things like this, retention of customers. And their apps will be designed in a way to keep you on the app. There are different things that they do A/B testing with that you might not even know. Even colors and fonts and things that you might not know. But the ones that work, they double down on them. And they do it with every little aspect of the site. And you on the other end, they're just the user. You're oblivious to this thing. But then it works on you. Nobody is too smart for psychology. That is basically how we are wired. And if somebody can hack it, then they'll get what they want out of us.
Yeah. In fact, it's proving that the color thing is actually a fact. So when I did like a crash course on UI UX, right? Product design, sometime in 2018. And it was proving that there's a reason why Facebook is blue, for trust, right? And then when you go to certain restaurants, most of them are orange. They stir up appetite. So color does something to the human mind, right? When you go to some of these betting platforms, it's green, red, very exciting colors. And the aim is to keep you. And then there's something else called gamification, where you're seeing this odd is 1.9, now 1.85. Then they not say something to suggest that it's still going down. So it's one of the best bets now, right? And then the fact that the heavier your order, the more your games, then the more your bonus and all of those things. So all of these things are just ways to keep you entertained and make sure that the app doesn't feel boring, it feels fun, right?
Just keep you excited.
Exactly.
So if somebody was going to unwrap himself, I'll tell you my own story, because I was very addicted to gambling. It's a very terrible thing. One thing it does self-clearly is just you never have money. You never have money because everything goes there. But then one of the things I did was I had to block myself from the apps, right? The self-exclusion and all those things and that. And then I was vocal about it. It's something that you can be very, very shameful about as well. But I knew that if I hide it, that's where the devil will fight with me. So I had a girlfriend at the time that I told. I had my sister and one cousin. So they knew. And they knew when I was getting paid each time I got paid. So they would attack me then. I had an accountability thing set up. But that is what worked for me. What do you think somebody can do to themselves in terms of psychology, work on themselves, not even activity?
But the truth of the matter is that in every human being's mind, they cherry pick the easy steps and leave the hard ones. I'll give an example. Accountability. A lot of people would do everything else but let go of the shame of telling somebody I'm struggling with this. The truth of the matter is that the tips you ignore the most out of fear and inability to handle are the most effective tips for you. So while I mention some of the tips, some will be like, let me do this one. Now, that might just be the one that you need to do to let go of the addiction. So for instance, why you started it, sober reflect, take your time. You don't have to answer it right now. It will come to you. Why you're still doing it, get a community of people to help you. Why? Because sometimes when there's something about the willpower and how sometimes your willpower is unable to defeat the desire, because sometimes desires are so strong, right? And so sometimes you need external support, external pull. Like you're trying to hold the load, it's too heavy. People come help you support. You can now hold the load. And so community also helps, always helps. But people who are invested in you and who you can trust, not people who spread. Right. So community support. And then there's a place for identity. identity just simply means that after you found out the why it started, it should now lead to a deficiency in how you see yourself, which created the opening for the addiction in the first place. And that deficiency will now be solved by, if you're a Christian, right? I always tell people, okay, read certain places in the Bible where God says, you're loved, you're holy, all of those things. You're not a Christian, you want to do self-affirmation, all of those things. Always affirm positive things to yourselm. And don't just affirm it, believe what you are saying. Because everything you do is based off your belief system as a human being. So make sure that it's something that you're convinced about. So, and this is why this is important. You have two types of people. The first type, you try to lure to do something bad. The person says, I can't, that is bad. The second person says, that's not who I am. The person who says that is not who I am will most likely be less likely to be convinced to do that thing than the other person who thinks it's bad. All you have to do is just convince that person that it's not so bad. Just give a different perspective, give a necessity of why it has to be done. But the other person, you have to first of all convince that person that this is actually not who you are. How do you convince a person of their own identity, a full-grown adult of his own identity? Do you understand?
Yeah.
And so it must be something that must come from a place of an identity that you must build up that is counter-intuitive the addiction itself. And so that conflict will build up in your mind where your heart is now divided, where one side is fighting the other side. And the desire of the addiction is saying, this is who you are, but you trying to reaffirm to yourself that this is not who I am is fighting that desire. Okay? Which is where community now comes back to support you in days where the other part of yourself is fighting this part of yourself that wants to defeat the addiction.
So it stands behind the part of yourself that you really believe in.
Exactly.
To defeat the addiction.
Exactly. Then one other thing is that while you're putting in structures to help the affirming part of yourself, like for instance now, the part of yourself is trying to say, this is who I am, who I want to be. You have community support and all of those people that's meant to reaffirm you. You're going to have app blockers for maybe gambling or porn or whatever that keeps you away from accessing that side, right? So it's helping this guy, but those same structures are also weakening this guy. How do I mean? This guy thrives off desire to persist in that addiction. But what feeds desire is information. You didn't know you loved the thing until you got exposed to it. So that means that the same way you think about an invest 5 years ago, you're doing like this, the same way that desire must be still in your heart, in your memory. The only way to make that desire still is by refusing to feed in information that renews the memories of that desire. So for instance, if I tell you something that happened today, I call you tomorrow, say, remember that discussion I had? Say, yes. Next tomorrow, remember that discussion? Yes. Next tomorrow, I keep doing it every day. In the next 5 years, I'll say, do you remember that discussion? You still say yes. But if I don't say anything about that conversation, your mind has to go far.
To fade away.
Exactly, it fades away. So in the same way, the part of your desire that needs to be strengthened, by the memories and all of this, you have to put in structures to make the memory still. Now, this is where relapse comes into play. But the thing about relapse is that for a person who has all the structures right, relapse comes into play once in a while. And so when you do things not so often, it still weakens the desire. So now this leads me now to my next point. Some people, very important point, some people will do 25 days, 30 days clean. Then they go back, and this is most common in porn and addiction, and porn and masturbation. They go back, and so the guilt leads them down a rabbit hole, whereby they now want to go back and start again.
But you go back and start again like it's worse than it was before.
Yes, most times it's worse. So this is how it works generally. You have to your 25 days clean, your 30 days clean. You fall. You feel condemned. You feel shame. Now, condemnation and shame is a proven psychological fact that it lowers your willpower. So for instance, the moment you fall, just let's say for maybe masturbation now, you want to go and sleep, you're ashamed of yourself. That sleep is actually a signal of something. Your morale is down. But you need your morale to be up to fight the addiction.
But because you failed now, you don't have any self-belief.
Exactly.
You feel like you're not,
Exactly.
you know, how like you ain't shit anymore.
Exactly. And so the willpower that is meant to be a shield to protect you, you've scattered the willpower. So guess what now happens? You feel like shit, you feel like all of those things. Then the addiction now comes back and say, you know what? Just continue.
Yeah, just
So that addiction that led you to the problem is now offering you what some of these gambling companies offer you, a place of safety. Say, come back, right? So what caused the problem is offering you like an opening for just come and hide, just continue, just hide, so that because you feel like shit, you don't stop feeling like shit. So you need to now feed very well off the pleasure of the addiction.
yeah, maybe it will give you
Exactly
what you needed in the first place.
And so it's now what I call a vicious cycle, where it's like a woman who stays with a man that slaps her, and then is still looking for love and affection from that same man. So your addiction is pushing you to a dark place, but it's still inviting you to come and draw more closure in it.
It reminds me of an analogy where they say if you cast out a demon, it comes back with 7 more.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. And so you have to be very careful. Okay, you have to be very careful. The way to get over that, because I can teach all of the strategies in life.
Yeah,
oh,
so
God.
What do you do when you fall? What do you do instead?
Thank you. That is the most important thing, right? In fact, if you have community support and you can let go of your condemnation, right? You have all that you need, and you can sort out your identity. You have all that you need. So, what do you do when you fall? The problem with the shame and the condemnation you feel is your focus. You succeeded 29 days. You fell on the 30th day. Your mind does not, it's like you're raising a child. This child does everything right, but the one mistake the child does, you hammer on that mistake. We all know that any parent who does that is a horrible parent.
Yeah.
So, in the same way, you're doing the same thing to yourself. You're not giving yourself that level of grace that you need. You're missing out on the 29 days where you told yourself, no, I won't do this. And you're judging yourself by the one time when you were in your moment of weakness. So instead of telling yourself, shit, man, I'm a piece of shit, I couldn't even hold this down. Why not tell yourself, more, guy, you did 29 days, nice one. And you must also have a community that has, because some community will now drive you further into that. They will say, you self. So you must have people who are non-judgmental. So the way to battle condemnation is by choosing to focus on the days when you said no instead and giving kudos to yourself.
Yeah.
Then now going back to the problem and now say, okay, what was the reason why I failed this time? Okay, I failed because I exposed myself to a movie scene and it just rose up some appetite to me. So you now tell yourself, okay, maybe for now I shouldn't be watching things like that until I'm sure that I'm over this addiction, right? Maybe for now I should actually not be watching things like that, right? Maybe this is my trigger, that's my trigger. Maybe I should just stay away from these triggers for a while. But you're not doing it from a place of you're slapping. You're doing it from a place of, I'm a human being, I make mistakes, right? And you also have to come to a point of being realistic, right? You're a human being. You're not perfect. You're going to have slip-ups. If you don't have slip-ups, it's a miracle. But most people go through life not having substantial miracles, and that is fine. See slip-ups as part of the healing process and choose to focus on your glory days rather than your fallen days.
If you did 29 days, you should look at it like strategically, we succeeded with this thing for this long. Okay, this is what happened that made us fail. And so moving forward, let's start afresh again from day one. But then now let's know this is what can make us fall because it has made us fall before. And let's try to avoid it moving forward. So it's just to be strategic about it as opposed to just being beating yourself down.
Yes. There's something you just said. It says from day one. So I don't advise this, and this is why. From day one gives a mentality and a psychology of a perfect slate. You're not meant to have a perfect slate. You're meant to have a human experience, even in your addiction recovery. Why? Because you are human, right? So I always tell people that instead of saying, I failed one in 30 days, I'm starting from the first day again, it's very demoralizing because it lets go of all of the days you succeeded. So tell yourself that out of 30 days, I'm going to continue on the 31st day, okay? And I'll keep striving for as perfect as possible. If I'm not able to, that is fine, but I'll keep striving for it.
What do you think about doing it like, okay, say you're sober or clean for a certain amount of days, and then say you failed on day 30, and then you continue with day 31. Maybe if you're counting, you just say, okay, day 31 now, day 32. Even if you know you failed on day 30, how do you think about that? What do you think? Is that an okay way to look at it?
It's an okay way, but there are two ways to it now. You must be very careful, because if you employ the mentality that, okay, let me continue counting, and then let me fall on the 33rd day, right? Out of 33 is still only 2. I've still tried.
You start getting percentages.
Exactly. So you must always also be careful. But the good side to that mentality is that out of 100, you've only fallen like 4 or 5 times. You're like, wow, I got an A1, right? If your child scores 95 over 100, you're like, you did great. Now, the bad side to it is that sometimes you plan the days you fall. Okay. The reason why that is a problem is this. It's a problem because you are no longer fighting to fall. You are now predicting when you can fall. And the thing about addiction is that one time is never enough. One time is never enough. The moment you give in one time, you want to keep giving in.
Yeah.
So when you have a mentality like that, you must bring back the structure of community to remind you about why you started this in the first place, and to keep you sincere in your journey. You must be shameless. You must be sincere about your journey. So you must tell them every time you slip up, don't tell yourself that it is not important. You must employ them and use them as an arsenal to fight the addiction. So it doesn't now become a matter of, okay, make I just sleep on the 36th day, because you know that you have to be accountable to.
There are 2 things I want to ask you finally. The first one, is there a community that exists already for addiction that people can join? And then secondly, I've tried ad blockers before, not ad blockers, but there's a thing one time when I was trying to recover before another relapse, they call it Gamblock, but then it was a paid service for me to not be able to gamble on my phone anymore. So are there any free services that can block you from porn sites or gambling sites?
Okay, good. Great question. First thing, do we have communities? Yes, we have communities. Last year, I invited somebody to speak on my podcast against porn and masturbation. It was a Samantha lady and an Alliance lady, because these were people who had their struggles and were able to defeat it, right? And so I think her name is Samantha Ivanchik, something like that. She's very sound. She would guide you through. We have Alems. Alems is, I think, a photographer at the time. Was a photographer at the time. I think he might still be. Alems is also somebody who is very vocal against masturbation, addiction, right? And he has helped people. You have somebody. There's this guy that was dragged a couple of weeks ago. I think Pastor Kesiena, the guy who said something about forgetting to give his wife a birthday gift twice in a row. It was very popular on Twitter, and they dragged him for it. He also does amazing work for people who suffer from those kind of addictions. The truth of the matter is that community exists, right? And in fact, if you search, you would see a lot of people who are doing free stuff, right? For the app blockers, there's this that I found really effective for porn and masturbation. It is called Accountable to You. Accountable to You. There's the free version, but they are paid. So the reason why I discourage against free things, it might be biased, is simply because people don't value free things. So you tell people, come for a free training, 3 months. After a while, they don't pay. There's no form of sacrifice. Yeah. People drop off after a while. But you tell somebody, pay for this. When they pay for it, they tend to value it more, right? And so for some of these apps, there are a couple of them. I can't really remember any, right off, my feed. But Accountable to You is really good for pornography. For gambling, there is one that my students, one of my mentees used. I don't have it off the top of my head, right? But the truth of the matter is that all of these apps, right? So 2 things. Number one, all of these apps, right? They are better when they are paid for. Some of them are like 10K, 15K, right? And if you're somebody who is serious about struggling with an addiction, I think an average Nigerian, maybe I'm speaking from previous, but I think an average Nigerian can afford 10 to 15,000 if they are serious.
Because the value in front of it is so much.
Exactly, right? And so I think it's better when they are paid for. The second thing is that every app blocker has a loophole. Every app blocker has a loophole, right? Some people can find ways to shut down applications so they are not tracking down their phone and things like that, right? Which is where you must be sincere enough with yourself. The moment you shut it down, talk to your community about it. Very important. Transparency, and actually, there are a lot of strategies that are employed within yourself. But in the days when you don't feel like following those strategies, You need somebody that you can be shameless to about. In fact, if I had to just say one strategy and abandon the rest, is having someone that you can always talk to and who is skilled and able enough to help you through, right? Once you have that one person, the other structures will come because the person that starts making suggestions, right?
Yeah.
But that is the first step. That is the first, very important.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
You know, there's a closing question we have on the podcast where you give us a life advice from your perspective. One thing that you believe has helped you or that you would like to share as a life advice, but you will not say it. You write it. You have a good living book.
Okay.
Where you write it.
Okay.
And that will be all.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming
Thank
on
you
the
very much.
podcast.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
All right, sure thing.